Barbie woke the next morning with a feeling she could not quite contain. As if the memory of the Golden Dreams Festival had woven itself into her heartbeat, threading warmth and new emotions through every beat, every breath, every quiet moment she spent staring at the soft morning light painting delicate gold along her bedroom walls. And she knew, deep in a place she rarely touched, that something inside her had shifted, blossomed, awakened. The dream fountain's magic still shimmered faintly in her thoughts, the way the golden mist curled like soft fire around her fingertips. The warm glow that wrapped her and Ken in a gentle embrace as if the universe itself had whispered a blessing over them. And most of all, the moment she opened her eyes to find Ken looking at her like she was the whole sky he'd been waiting for. Barbie pressed her hand lightly to her chest as she remembered the closeness, the unspoken confession that trembled in the air between them. And she felt a quiet thrill ripple through her, a soft fluttering that reminded her of the lanterns drifting upward like glowing dreams. She rose slowly, letting her bare feet touch the cool floor, letting her fingers trace absent-mindedly along the edge of her vanity as she brushed her hair, each stroke steadying her breath, though her mind kept drifting back to Ken's smile, the tenderness in his eyes, the way he held her hand like it was something precious. Downstairs, her sisters were already awake, Skipper typing away on her laptop with a smirk that told Barbie she had 1,000 questions ready, Stacy stretching on her yoga mat, and Chelsea humming cheerfully as she glued glitter stars onto a poster board. "Morning," Barbie called, doing her best to sound casual. But Skipper looked up instantly with a raised eyebrow. "Okay, that's the voice. The I have a secret but am going to pretend I don't voice." Barbie tried not to smile, but Chelsea gasped dramatically. "Barbie, did you and Ken fall in love at the festival?" Barbie nearly dropped her smoothie. "Chelsea," she squeaked, cheeks burning. Stacy grinned. "Well, did you?" Barbie opened her mouth to deny it, but then she closed it slowly. Because the thing was, she didn't know how to pretend anymore. She didn't know how to hide the warmth blooming inside her like a sunrise. Before she could answer, the doorbell chimed. All three sisters froze, their faces transforming instantly into mischievous detectives. "Oh, we're absolutely watching this," Skipper whispered. Barbie's heart jumped as she walked to the door, smoothing her hair even though she insisted she wasn't trying to impress him. But when she opened the door and found Ken, sunlit blonde hair tousled by the breeze, soft smile tugging at his lips, holding 2 cups of her favorite strawberry peach smoothie, her breath hitched anyway. "Morning, Barbie," he said gently, offering her one of the cups. "Thought you might like this." She accepted it with a smile that warmed her whole body. "Ken, thank you. You didn't have to. I wanted to," he said simply, and there was something in the way he said it that made her pulse flutter. He glanced past her shoulder and saw Skipper, Stacy, and Chelsea pretending very badly to mind their own business. Ken chuckled. "I was wondering, maybe we could spend the day together? Just us?" Barbie felt something inside her glow. "I'd like that," she said softly, and so they set off, walking side by side down the sunlit streets of Malibu, a quiet comfort settling between them like something familiar and new all at once. The city felt brighter today, shops decorated with leftover festival ribbons, warm golden petals from the lantern flowers drifting across the sidewalks like soft confetti, the sound of distant laughter ringing through the air like a melody of yesterday's magic. Ken kept looking at her, as if making sure she was really there, and Barbie felt her cheeks warm each time their eyes met. "I'm glad we're doing this," he finally said, voice calm but sincere. "Yeah?" Barbie asked softly. "Yeah," Ken replied. "Yesterday, everything we said, everything we didn't say, it's been on my mind." Barbie bit her lip gently. "Mine too." They walked to the beach, where waves lapped at the shore with a slow, soothing rhythm, and Ken laid his jacket on the sand so she could sit comfortably. The gesture was simple, but tender in a way that made Barbie's heart bloom. They sat close, their shoulders brushing with the slightest spark, the wind wrapping them in gentle warmth. "Barbie," Ken said after a quiet moment, "I don't want things to be confusing for you. I know this is new, and I don't want you to feel rushed. I just want you to know that He paused, searching her eyes with a softness that made everything around them go still. Barbie turned toward him fully, her hair catching the sunlight like threads of gold. "Ken, it's not confusing," she whispered. "It's just new, but not scary new. More like beautifully unexpected." Ken's expression softened, relief flooding his eyes. "I'm really happy to hear that." Barbie hesitated only for a heartbeat before saying, "I've been thinking too, about us, About yesterday, Anne. Ken, when you held my hand at the fountain. I felt something real. Ken's breath caught. I felt it too, he whispered, his voice trembling with emotion. The wind blew gently, lifting strands of Barbie's hair, but neither of them moved, their hearts beating in quiet harmony. Barbie took a soft breath. Ken. I think I'm starting to feel something more than friendship. Ken closed his eyes briefly, overwhelmed, and when he opened them, they were shining. Barbie, you have no idea how long I've wanted to hear that. They sat like that for a long, peaceful moment, just two hearts opening. Slowly, gently, in the quiet cradle of the ocean breeze. They spent the afternoon exploring Malibu, visiting a small handmade jewelry stall where Ken secretly bought a tiny gold charm shaped like a star because it reminded him of the lantern she had released. Stopping at a pastel-painted cafe where they shared a plate of cloud-soft pancakes topped with berries. Laughing as they wandered into a vintage shop where Barbie tried on heart-shaped sunglasses and Ken insisted they suited her perfectly. Barbie couldn't remember the last time she felt so light, so understood, so seen. It wasn't just fun, it was effortless, natural, as if they had been dancing toward this moment for years without realizing it. Later, Ken brought her to a quiet hill overlooking the ocean as the sun began to lower, painting the sky in layers of rose and gold that shimmered like a living painting. Barbie, he said softly, there's something I want to show you. He guided her to a small wooden bench decorated with delicate carvings of stars and flowers. This used to be my favorite spot when I was younger, he explained. Whenever I felt unsure or lost, I'd come here to think, to dream. Barbie smiled, touched by the vulnerability in his voice. It's beautiful, she whispered. I'm glad you brought me here. Ken looked at her then, really looked at her, and Barbie felt something inside her melt, opening like a flower kissed by sunlight. Barbie, he murmured, I want you to know something. Her heart skipped. What is it? Ken took a steadying breath, his expression soft, earnest. I know we've always been a team, best friends, and that means everything to me. But being with you today, it's made me realize just how much I care about you. And not just as a friend. Not anymore. Barbie felt her breath tremble. Ken, I don't expect anything from you. He continued gently. I don't want to rush you, but I need you to know that, whatever you feel, whatever happens next, I'm here, for you, always. Barbie's chest warmed with a deep, tender ache. She reached out and took his hand, this time without hesitation, without fear, and Ken's eyes widened slightly, his breath catching. Ken, she said in a voice soft as dawn, I care about you too, more than I knew, more than I realized, and being with you today, it felt right. It felt like something I want to keep feeling. Ken swallowed hard, emotion tightening his throat. Barbie, their fingers intertwined naturally, like they had been waiting for this moment forever. And the sun dipped lower, casting a warm golden halo around them as if sealing their shared truth in light. They sat together as the sky deepened into lavender and then into twilight, their hands still linked, their hearts speaking quietly in the spaces between words. Barbie leaned her head lightly on Ken's shoulder, a gesture so gentle yet so full of meaning that Ken closed his eyes, savoring the moment like something fragile and precious. I'm glad it's you, Barbie whispered. Ken turned his head slightly. What? She smiled softly. The person I'm falling for. Ken exhaled shakily, overwhelmed by the quiet confession, and he rested his cheek lightly against her hair. Barbie, he whispered, voice thick with emotion, you're everything I've ever wished for. As stars began to appear, shimmering above them like the lanterns reborn in the night sky, Barbie felt the world around them fade, leaving only the soft rhythm of their breaths, the warmth of his shoulder beneath her cheek, the steady beating of two hearts learning to move in harmony. And she knew, deeply, undeniably, that this was the beginning of something beautiful, something rare, something rooted in trust and tenderness and quiet, blooming love. When Ken walked her home later that night, they paused at the dream house steps, both reluctant for the moment to end. Barbie turned to him, their hands brushing lightly one more time, sending tiny sparks through her. Thank you for today, she said softly. It meant more to me than I can say. Ken smiled, his eyes warm. It meant everything to me. Their gaze lingered, glowing with a new kind of promise, a soft, unfolding love that neither needed to rush because it was already growing exactly where it was meant to. And as Barbie entered the dream house, heart fluttering like a whispered dream, she realized something simple and breathtaking. for the first time in her life. Her heart wasn't just dreaming, it was falling. Truly falling. And Ken. Ken was the one it was falling for.